Today I'm going to give you some very quick and actionable tips to networking to find a job. Why is this important? Well, 70 to 80% of jobs, or some crazy number like that, are still found through networking and not through job postings online. So if you're not getting out there, if you're not networking offline, then you're missing out on the majority of the job market. So with that said, here we go. So tip number one. Now, one of the most awkward things is going to an event and introducing yourself to people, trying to start a conversation, and basically it just kind of fizzles out and doesn't go anywhere. So I think one of the great things that you can do is actually reach out to people before the event. So for example, you have a lot of events nowadays that they have a list of speakers, a list of companies that are going to be there, and even a Facebook page or Twitter feed that they have specifically for that event. So you can actually go on there and reach out to whoever, a manager from Amazon, let's say, and drop them a message and say, look, I'm going to be at this career event. Would love to spend 5 minutes talking a little bit about your company and introduce myself. So that way, when you go, you're not just standing around awkwardly trying to meet people. You actually have a target, and you know who you're going to meet, and you can actually go up to them, and there's a little bit of a warmer approach. So think a little bit about who you want to meet, do a bit of research, and that will make it a lot easier when you actually go to the event. Networking tip number 2, research discussion topics beforehand. Now, this was a real game changer for me because I used to show up to networking events and I would go straight for the drink bar and just start pounding, free wine and beer, and that never really turned out too well and wasn't so effective, even though it was fun. So really, a much better way is actually to spend some time learning about some of the companies that are going there, learning about some of the topics that are trending. So, for example, I went to a digital advertising networking event recently, which I know a little bit about the ad industry, but I don't really keep up with it. So I did some research on it, and one of the big topics that's trending now is ad blocking and this new feature that's coming out for Chrome. So how is ad blocking going to affect the industry? Now, this is a really interesting topic. A lot of stuff is written about it online, so did some research. When I went to this event, I introduced myself. I'd just go up to people, and the first thing I would say is, what do you think about the whole ad blocking situation? How is that affecting you? How is that affecting your business? And people would just spill their guts out, right? Like they wanted to talk about it. They want to talk about what they think and their opinion, and how it doesn't really matter, or how it's gonna screw everything up. And anyway, so everyone had their opinion, and I learned a lot, right? I learned more about the industry. I was able to engage with that person, have a semi-intellectual conversation, and it was much easier to keep a conversation going for more than just 2 or 3 minutes, right? And that led to other conversations about the ad industry and so on and so forth. So take a little bit of time to look at who's going, look at the companies, and do some basic research on the topics. That way you are ready to rumble when you go to the event. Networking tip number 3, stay focused. Now, this is really simple, but also really important. So a lot of people will go to an event tired, they didn't get a good night's sleep, they were drinking the night before, they carry a big backpack, they're really stressed out, and when they talk to people, it's not really leaving a good impression because you just don't look healthy, and people seem like it's a burden to talk to you, right? So you want to be approachable, and one of the easy ways to do that is just to make sure that you are awake and that you're feeling fresh, you're feeling good, and that positivity will naturally come out, right? So I always get a good night's sleep. I always go to the gym the night before or the day of, the morning of, and I just have good breakfast. So stay healthy. Go back to the basics. Treat it like an interview. Treat it like work, and make sure you are on your A game for networking. Networking tip number 4: quality over quantity. Now, this was a pretty massive. This is a pretty massive one for a lot of people, because it will really change how you interact with people, right? So I used to go to networking events and just spray my business card at people. I'd carry a fat stack of like 200 business cards and really just try and exchange my business card with as many people as possibly could. And maybe business cards aren't a big thing where you're from. In Japan, we use them quite frequently. But anyways, so that doesn't really work, right? Because you don't remember everyone that you've spoken to, and people aren't really going to remember you. Rather, I think it's better to take an 80-20 approach, meaning 80% of the results that you're looking for, whatever your goal is going to come from probably 20% of the people and 20% of the effort that you put in. So now I really just focus on spending time with maybe 2, 3, 4 people at most for that entire networking event, which could be several hours. Of course, I might meet more people, but I make sure to spend a good amount of time, 20, 30 minutes, just talking to one person, sitting down with them for lunch, sitting down with them for coffee, and really just having a conversation with them, right? And that is much more effective, and you're much more likely to open up doors, right? Because they're connected to people and they're gonna trust you more if you've actually taken the time to listen to them and have a conversation, right? If you're just going around grabbing business cards, it's going to be a lot harder to achieve your goals. So think about that. It's a lot less stressful, actually. It's a lot less stressful to just talk to a handful of people instead of trying to meet everyone. And I think it's also a lot more effective. So give that one a try and see how it goes. Networking tip number 5: follow up. So most of networking actually happens outside of the networking event. So what I mean by that is, when you're meeting someone at an event, it's really just the first step, right? It's just really the first step of the relationship. You don't know that much about him. Maybe you have a 20, 30-minute conversation. It's really interesting. You hit it off, and you want to talk to them again, or you want to meet them again. So really that's just the beginning. So you have to follow up with them and continue building that relationship, right? It's just a start. So a bad example of a follow-up email would be sending, John, hey John, this is Misha. We met at the networking event. Really enjoyed talking to you. Let's stay in touch. Like, that's horrible, right? Because nothing's actually happening, right? It's just a meaningless email. A good example would be actually sharing something with them, maybe that you discussed in your conversation, like a link to a book or a movie, or something work-related or non-work related, or even a connection to someone that you think they could find useful. Just adding some sort of value add, right? And at the end of the email, you can just suggest another meeting, right? A coffee or a dinner or whatever, and give them a time. Don't just suggest it, but actually say, look, I want to meet again. Let's do it next Tuesday or Thursday. That way, you're actually actively building the network that you have and making the most of it. So think a little bit about what you can say, and make sure to follow up first of all, but make the follow-ups meaningful.